Welcome to the Drop the Needle Podcast, your backstage pass to the mystical realm. I'm your host, Jim Alstott, and here, gifted souls step up to the mic sharing their spiritual journey. We're hitting the high notes and the low notes of their awakening, creating a symphony of enlightenment. This isn't just another interview show. This is where divine insights are channeled and universal truths are revealed. So crank up your stereo and sit back, because who knows, this just might help you compose the next transformative chapter of your soul's purpose. Are you ready? Let's go. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Drop the Needle Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Alstott, and I'm so happy y'all decided to join us. Well, today's guest has spent 14 years living and traveling throughout India, training directly under one of the most revered spiritual masters of our time, the late Saint Sri Kaleshwar. He's a master healer, meditation teacher, and empowerment coach who's been guiding people to unlock what he calls their supernatural potential for over 35 years. Now he's based in Los Angeles, where he runs an international meditation and healing center. Please welcome Paul Aryeh to the show. Welcome, Paul.
Hey, Jim. Great to be here with you.
Thanks for making the time. I'm glad we were able to do that. So why don't you do me a favor, or do us a favor, and tell everyone a little bit about your background?
Well, up to now, I've been a spiritual meditator and seeker for most of my life. I've been meditating since, I guess, the late 70s, early 80s, and searching out for spirituality, the truth, personal development, human potential, and really exploring it. And then things really kind of exploded when I went to India in 1998, and it just kind of opened my mind out to what was possible for a human being if they really focus and to really cultivate their energies. And when I met Sri Kaleshwar in 1997, 1998, it really kind of blew my mind. It kind of opened me up to what the human potential had available. And it's not something that was rooted in dogma, but it was more mechanisms of meditation, creation, and to be able to access supernatural energies.
Now, I gotta say that for a lot of people, I don't even know if they could wrap their minds around being someplace for 14 years. Like we were talking before the show, how people go to retreats that are over the weekend, or you may decide, hey, I'm going to take this class and it's going to be a year-long course. 14 years living and training in India. Talk about committed. I mean, that's something.
Right. I guess the question is, like, why did I stick there for so long? And you have to understand that the meditation journey and the process was for me unfolding.
Mm-hmm.
I began to do practices, processes, mantras, meditations, visiting sacred spots, and having experiences. Because if you don't have experiences, Jim,
Right.
if you really, you can do dogma only for so long.
Yes. Yes.
But when you have experiences and you have moments of divine intervention, experiences of a miracle energy, experiences of angels, as an example, or experiences of a divine soul, or meeting a physical saint, and you witness not just the energy of those moments, but you have glimpses into what's possible. And for me, I started out just wanting to get healed. I was depressed. I was searching for purpose. I was looking to heal myself because, I had invested all my life and energy into making money, finding the perfect mate, being happy.
Right.
My experience is that we underrate what it means to be happy, and to really understand what that means, and to be in harmony with the higher vibrations, to be in harmony and connected to divine energy. We could talk about it all day, but until you experience it, it becomes a concept. And so
Right. It's the
for me,
feeling, right?
yeah,
To be able
no,
to
it's a
feel.
direct experience, Jim.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? I can talk to you all day long about angels, but until you have an experience in communion or commit a communication with an angel or Mother Divine or a divine
yeah.
soul, then
Yeah.
it becomes
So I'm sorry to interrupt, but so when I say feel, I don't mean, oh yeah, I feel that. I mean, feel it. So you could say experience, or you're saying experience, but that's what I am. When I say feel something, when it's down in your soul that you feel something, it's so deeply rooted that, so you can call that experience, you can call that a feel, you can call that living it, you call it whatever you want to call it. I
right,
guess is, as long as you experience that or feel that to that degree, that's what I was, I
right,
guess, really
right.
talking about.
Right, right. And so that was the difference. So 14 years is because, I did so many meditation processes and the results spoke for themselves. When you begin to see and experience and participate in manifestation of miracles, let's say changing water to oil or water to wine, or experiencing a visitation of an angel in the flesh, not just as a vision, not just as
Yes.
a theory or um, a mystical visitation, but when you when you experience these things, life has a different depth and meaning to it.
Can we talk about that for a second? Because I know of people, I've actually, one of my friends, Joe McQuillan, his son Christopher, he's talked about Christopher seeing this person when he was in a jam, like he was stuck in a hole that was like and I might be telling the story incorrectly, but like flooding, and he had somebody there that was down in that hole helping him,
Right,
keeping him calm and everything. And
right,
it wasn't, there wasn't, that person wasn't there as in a terrestrial or, just like a human being. He was firmly convinced that that was an angel that was there, which is why I wanted to talk about this and take this left turn. With everything that's going on right now in the world, we have so much that is grabbing headlines. And most of the time, let's be honest, it's not positive. It's not a loving energy necessarily. It's fear or divide. In what I mean by that, it could be, bigotry, hatred towards race or sex, whether somebody's homosexual, heterosexual, that sort of thing. And it's just fear and hate mongering. And I guess where I'm curious to know your take on this is, with everything, well, is it dark? I mean, is it really as bad as it feels sometimes?
absolutely. This creation is a host for both polarities. It's the positive and it's the negative. And to the degree that you could understand it, and Sri Kalsra talked about that. He said that the planet is overwhelmed with negativity. And how do you combat that? How do you balance that? How do you stay connected to your inner soul and your sanity in the
Mm-hmm.
midst of all this negativity that's overrunning the planet right now? And he gave very powerful techniques how to manage negativity, how to manage poison, how to manage uh, that which tears us apart and brings us down.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're in a dark place, it's really hard to embrace the light, so to speak, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so in the process of those 14 years, I had my struggles and my demons that I had to recognize. And the spiritual path is about truthfulness. It's about recognize and being truth, because what does the truth help you to do? It sets you free.
Mm-hmm.
And when it sets you free, it frees what? It frees you up to connect to that divine cosmic energy so that you can stay connected long term. So what people nowadays do is that they become obsessed with the negativity, and they fight and they struggle. And that fight and struggle really depletes your positive life force. Not to say we ignore it, we can be aware of it, but we be aware of it from a place of mastery. We don't engage with the negativity, you know? The media oftentimes likes us to engage with those negative emotions, feelings, thoughts, and energies, because that's what, you're grappling with illusion. You're grappling with negativity. And what does negativity love to do? It loves to suck your energy.
So with that, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because there's two sides. You talked about polarity, so there's going to be light and there's going to be dark. And when you had mentioned angels a couple of different times, that's really where I'm curious to know, do you think that with as much turmoil, confusion, what have you, do you think there are more and more angels that are becoming present to help people in any way? Or what ways do you think they're showing up to help people?
They're always around us. The question is if you can shift your focus, shift your vibrational field. And I mean that intentionally, because when you engage in a negative thought, a negative emotion, a negative feeling, or even a negative trauma,
Mm-hmm.
it opens you up to negativity. Now, it doesn't mean that you should, be in la la land and just ignore it. No, it's part of the process to, it's part of the process to let it go. That's what's so unique about meditation, because your meditation practice should free you of those blockages that need to be released, healed, and to be removed. Because what happens when you remove that negativity, Jim? You have more space.
Yes.
You have more room to pull in the next energy, which is hopefully a higher vibration of love, compassion, patience, faith, and the more divine attributes
Mm-hmm.
that you need on the spiritual path. And it doesn't mean that you have to be Pollyanna about it. It just means that through your experiences of the light and dark, you get to appreciate the vibrations of the light, and you make a conscious choice to embrace that or to grow that. And that's why meditation is so important and so powerful tool.
So in doing some research on you, I found quite a bit of information on your mentor as well, and some of the different techniques and practices that I'm assuming, shared with you. And one of them um, that was mentioned was the palm leaf manuscripts.
Correct.
Right. And I guess, without getting too esoteric, what's one of the teachings from him that still surprises you even today when you sit with it?
Um, what surprises me, it's like an unfolding process, because a lot of these palm leaf manuscripts have sacred geometry. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, sacred geometry, like the sacred geometry behind you.
Yes.
And sacred geometry are called yantras, and these yantras are diagrams of energy that hold energy. It could be anything. It could be a diagram for removing obstacles. It could be a diagram for releasing past traumas. It could be a diagram that connects to Mother Divine. It could be a diagram that connects you to Jesus Christ. So what amazes me is the depth of these diagrams, coupled with the sacred mantras that are associated with them,
Mm-hmm.
and how it's alive, it unfolds, And it's a like in back of me over on this side, that's a sacred geometry that you see right here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a yantra that has mantras along with it that are designed to help the practitioner understand the mystery of life and death, which is also linked with Jesus Christ, as an example.
Right.
Um, and so these yantras in these palm leaf books, I was very fortunate that I managed and really spent a lot of time with these manuscripts, helping to understand them and try to translate them. But, they were carbon dated for 3,000 years plus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. 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 So then let's talk a little bit about that, because obviously there are differences. Well, there are differences and there are similarities between Eastern and Western um, thoughts and practices. But for a Western audience that might be a little skeptical, how do you explain what's actually happening energetically during those practices? Is there a scientific or
Yeah,
physical analogy you can make to help it
absolutely.
land?
Yeah. So two things. One is I recommend people just experiment and really see the vibrational changes that happen when you meditate or repeat mantras. And there's a science behind it, because in all these mantras, um, there are vibrational frequencies,
Right.
and then it's a sequence of these vibrational frequencies of words put together that have a particular vibrational impact on us as human beings. It helps us to release and purify blockages, traumas, unwarranted emotions. At the same time as it's releasing all these scars, so to speak, it,
Hmm.
it
Okay.
also it also awakens us to a higher vibration.
That's I like the way that you explain that very much. So I've got a couple of other questions with it. That's the thing. I don't know if you've ever noticed that as soon as we start on a conversation, it's just like, I've got another question and another question. And they just, I, I could talk about this all day long, which is why I love doing these shows and meeting people like yourself. So, and this may seem pretty simple or maybe even a goofy question, but when you're doing mantras in your meditation, and we talk about frequency, right? Is there a particular frequency that you try to hit, like if it's a higher or a lower, you know what I mean? If it's so it's not in somebody's vocal register, there's a higher register and there's a lower register. Are you trying to stay in that lower register when you're speaking the mantras, or does that make sense what I'm kind of getting at here?
Yeah, well, the mantra is really, I mean, it's so difficult. I can recite a mantra, and you can actually hear the vibrations, so you can understand all the letters and they call it bijas, or sacred sounds,
Okay.
that have frequencies that invoke a divine aspect of the creation. For example, if you wanted to access Mother Divine, or certain aspect of the Mother, to invoke and purify the fire element, because we're comprised of the
Mm,
elements.
right.
It's the earth, the fire, the sky, the water, the air. And as these vibrations resonate inside you and you're repeating them, those vibrations are literally activating your, I like to say, your DNA, and really affecting you in a positive way at a cellular level,
Hmm.
right? And so when you begin to vibrate at a particular frequency, what happens? It's like a magnet. It
Right.
it attracts the same frequency from which it emanated from, right? So
Okay.
example, if you have a frequency that is connecting to the heart of Mother Divine, and you start vibrating at that, she recognized that in the nature and in creation, and you're literally pulling it's like a magnet pulling another magnet. You're pulling those vibrations to you so that you begin to develop a union with that energy, both inside you and within the cosmic realm. So in theory, it's very scientific because everything is sound and light.
Right.
Right.
And we were talking a little bit before the show started. We're talking about music and frequencies and sound and healing, and with our bodies being 80+%,
Water.
water,
Right.
And we've seen what those, heck, anybody can see them on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, those videos where certain frequencies affect water, or there's the one with the sand that's on the metal plate and the frequency comes in and it gives essentially the mandalas.
Right.
So if that's happening to a glass of water, imagine what that's doing to you as a human being.
Right. Because what we don't understand is that our emotions, our thoughts, our feelings,
right, yes,
they resonate within this body, and it gets stored in the cells, and a lot of times it's within the water element. The water element means, literally water, but it's also your blood. And it also goes throughout your system. And so you can see how you have the potential to change your vibrations. I love the Japanese scientist Yamamoto.
Yes.
He showed us the resonance of sound and words and how it affects on the molecular level what it creates in ice and water.
Those were amazing experiments he conducted. That negative talk impacted the molecular structure so significantly.
Right.
It was really, if anybody, maybe I should put a link on that to in our show notes from today's episode, but that's really neat.
Right.
So when we're talking about these different things on a cellular level or DNA, and I know you've talked about generational trauma and how it gets passed down. So do you think that that's part of what we're talking about? Or let's even go so far as to say the healing of the traumas. Do you think that if you are able to heal those traumas now, that it would also heal your ancestors? So does it?
Great question.
Ripple backwards in time, or does it only go forward? Or
so it's really great because I've been able to successfully do that for my family, to be able to heal the past. Because all our traumas are just memories of the past. So, and I've learned the techniques of being able to heal the past through the Kala chakra. You're able to actually go back in time to the point in time and actually heal or remove the negative effects of a traumatic experience in time, and to bring your energy forward to this very moment, because all you have is right here, right now. But you have the ability to, and this is a very high level teaching, Jim. So it is a great point to say, well, what's really possible on the spiritual path? And so the answer to your question is yes, you can heal the past, and you can also heal the future, and you can also heal your ancestral karmic imprint as well. You can literally heal those influences in your life and be free of it. There's a mantra for that. Yeah, absolutely. It's called Clearing Family Karma Mantra Process.
Of course it is. That's great.
And I've done it. Listen, I've done it. I've done it for groups of people that, for whatever reason, they were experiencing the outer influences on their current state of being, and that they were unbeknownst being influenced by the actions of their family members from previous lifetimes and even this lifetime. Can you
No,
imagine that? Can you imagine being able to heal that?
that would be
What's
amazing.
possible?
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are some of the practices that I've had done on myself and have used the same techniques for other people to help them to release.
So that in and of itself is amazing. And I remember one of my friends who does family constellation therapy, and in part of that, uh, she had worked with a shaman before, and they were talking about 7 generations back and 7 generations forward
Right.
to be able, when you're able to heal like you're talking about that. So 7 generations in both directions. How powerful is that?
It is. It's very powerful. And to be very frank with you, when you experience that release and you experience healing on a soul level, because
Mm-hmm.
really your soul incarnates
Yes.
every lifetime until you complete the cycle of releasing those karmic imprints, then life has a different dimension, and it's quite extraordinary because you become lighter, you become freer, you have more capacity to now create a different set of circumstances for your life now and for the future.
I, this is going to sound silly, but I can't help but want that for everyone. You know, I just really want everyone to be able to experience something like that. So what, and I hate to say this to you, but I'm going to. What kind of proof are you getting from these types of things, these types of healings? What are you seeing in either, it could be yourself, but clients? I'm kind of curious about that.
Um, one of the biggest miracles is to witness people becoming happier in their lives because
Mm-hmm.
they're not suffering uh they're not suffering as a victim anymore.
Right.
You see the difference? There's a
Mm-hmm.
difference here because if you have the constant cycle karmic coming back and forth and you react to it the same way. Let's say if you've been hurt by someone and you lash out to them and you get angry at them, and then it creates a ripple effect and an action back out into the creation. You're not creating anything positive. But if you get to the root of it, which is pain,
Mm-hmm.
trauma, sadness, heartbreak.
Yes.
Heartbreak is
So
a
painful.
multi-dimensional experience that until you give people the tools to be able to walk out and decharge that poison in their life, then they become free. They experience a sense of freedom from those circumstances, so that they can, instead of reacting to their circumstances moving forward, they can just be masters about it and not lash out and not feel the pain. You know what to do with the pain. When you experience pain, most people don't understand that you can decharge it, you can release it, you can heal it, you can transmute it. You can take lemons and you can make lemonade.
Sure. Right. Right. Yeah. No,
So when you
that's
give
good.
people the tools for that, okay, and then you give them a way to recognize what's happening in their life, they can be truthful with themselves. Is like, relationships are a big heartbreak for most people,
Yes.
and that trauma of breaking up with someone and really not healing it fully. What happens with a lot of my clients is that they take that disappointment, they take that pain, they don't allow themselves to release and heal it and let go and forgive. They can't go to the next relationship whole
Right.
and complete.
The baggage
Yeah,
comes
exactly.
along with it.
We call it baggage. I call it trauma. I call it pain.
Right.
I
Right.
call it anger. I talk about Have you forgiven that person in your life for leaving you? Have you forgiven that person for doing something that was hurtful to you? Have you taken that pain and really released it? Have you really released it? Have you forgiven that person, recognized that they made a mistake or they made a choice?
Yeah, that's a big deal right there, because I guess we're immediately, these things are going off in my head. I'm going, okay, yeah, that makes sense, because I've seen it, I've done it, where you bring things from a previous relationship into another relationship, and it doesn't even have to, it's not even like it's necessarily real, but it's real enough in your mind, so you're bringing it along with it for the ride, the traumas. But so I guess where I immediately go in the how do you solve this, or how do you heal this? So how would you then help someone trust that same feeling, that same energy again, that has been a source of their pain for so many years?
That in itself requires a process of change. It's like when I work with clients, what do? I say, first of all, what are you doing to heal yourself? Are you cultivating positive vibrations, or are you still stuck in the negative mindset of fear, pain, and just regurgitating the same thing? Have you released it? Are you able to heal yourself? Are you able to nurture yourself? Nurture means give it the positive vibrations that it needs in order to come back to homeostasis. Have you been able to allow yourself to open your heart?
Well, okay, so I'm not, believe me, I'm not trying to be a negative Nelly on this, because I'm looking at it, and I'll even go through myself. I'll speak for myself in this, I should say. Somebody who's gone through divorce and things like that previously, remarried, but there is that pain cycle, and you can go, okay, I'm not going to do this now. And it seems like it's temporary, then it comes back again. And so, do you know I guess what I'm getting at is, a lot of times when I've done work, whether it be through, a therapist or what have you, it seems like it's temporary. It's always these little, okay, that's good for a while, then boom. That's good for a while, then. So what is it that you are passing along to somebody that can make these long lasting changes?
Great question.
Does that
Yeah,
make
no,
sense?
great question.
Okay.
So the point of it is that the healing process is not mental. It's energetic. It's vibrational.
Okay.
Okay? It's different. If you have a heartbreak, where is it located? It's located in the heart
Heart
chakra.
chakra. Yeah.
Okay? Because what happens is it's like a wound. When you have a wound and there's pain, what is the natural inclination? It's to create scar tissue
Right.
over the heart.
Yep.
Okay, and it's energetic. But if you're able to come in contact with the power of the mantras, power of the vibrations, it will show you where the energy is stuck, and the emotions that are suppressed within us, that cover the heart, that prevent us from experiencing that pain, because it's experiential, first of all,
Okay.
and it's energetic, second of all. So when you have these mantras or these techniques or these practices, they're designed to purify. They're designed to uproot the weeds.
Okay.
They're designed to balance the energetics of the elements within inside you so that they can be released. Because when you start these mantras process or these meditation process, it will, when you invoke all this positive energy, what it's going to shed light on are the pockets of areas of your life that you need to let go of.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And
Yes.
one part, it's a release, like your face just released because you had a recognition of it's an energetic experience, but you have to have the willingness and the stamina
To
and
let it go.
the commitment to heal yourself, to release out the old and to embrace something new. and to recognize that your soul is an embodiment of true consciousness, true love. Most people walk around, they think of themselves very lowly. They don't think that they're worthy of love. They don't think that you're deserving of love. They don't think that God really has you out for, is looking out for your best interest. That the angels really just kind of fly by and they ignore me because
like the cop passes you by when you're stuck on the side of the road.
Yeah, exactly. It's that feeling of left out, of rejected, of not being deserving of love in your life. But these are thoughts and belief systems, Jim, that we've created as a result of painful, traumatic instances that we have accumulated over this lifetime and past lifetimes. So how do you reverse it? That's your question.
Yes. How do you reverse it?
How do you reverse it? How do you get back to homeostasis? How do you get back where you can recapture love in your heart, right? Because that's really all that matters, is that you have love in your heart, love for your mate, love for your family, love for yourself.
Very important.
Because secretly, if we've been hurt by other people, we automatically, unconsciously think that we're a bad person, or we're not deserving of love.
Yes.
And we believe that. And so we enforce that belief system, and then we self-sabotage, and we do everything in our power to hurt ourselves, because we believe unconsciously that, well, if this person doesn't love me or doesn't like me and they left me, in the dirt, then I must be a very unworthy human being.
Right.
So we almost are like a robot, in a sense, that we need to unlearn that. And the way you're going to do that, Jim, is by releasing out the poison. And all the saints over time have done this. You look at the most magnanimous saints, they have shown nothing but love and compassion for humanity. And because it's got to start somewhere. Look at Jesus. He was the master healer.
Right.
And if you take a look at people that are reborn Christians, what they have done is that they have opened themselves out. They've opened themselves up to a higher force of creation, and they've opened themselves up to love. And it becomes almost like a religious experience, because they feel healing. They feel a sense of communion. They feel reborn again. And so these experiences are like religious revivals of a very deep transformation.
I have so many thoughts whirling around in my head as you were talking. I'm serious. I'm like, well, I always tell full disclosure, ADHD guy, so it's shiny object. I'm off to the races.
Right.
But I was thinking about the things that you were saying, and so something that stood out to me. That was probably the 6th time you said the word poison. What does that look like in a person energetically or spiritually? What is because I have to think that it takes on some sort of form energetically. Right. So what does that look like? And then how do you rid someone or rid yourself of those things?
First, it's vibrational. It's we have absorbed some negativity that hits the soul. You got to go macro and then work its way backwards to the microcosm. So somewhere, somehow, the soul has been hit or traumatized or received some sort of negative energy. And so what happens is that it kind of pinches the soul. And so we contract. And when we contract, we retreat. When we retreat, we kind of tense up. And it affects, when it hits the soul, it affects the mind, it affects the emotions, and it trickles down to the body.
Right. Takes form and disease or something.
Disease, addictions, or some sort of because we haven't been trained as human beings to release out the poison in a healthy way. So what we do naturally is we don't know what to do with it. When we get hurt, what do? We retreat, we kind of hide, we try to digest it,
Right.
but we
So it's
hold
still
on to it.
there. Right.
It's
We
still
don't release
there.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still there. So it's going to manifest one way or another, either with psychiatric type of disturbances,
Mm-hmm.
or anxiety, or fear,
Right.
or deep distrust, loneliness, depression,
Mm.
all these things, or fighting nature.
Low vibrational frequencies.
Yeah, those vibrational frequencies have to be released one way or another. The power of this meditation is that it automatically, once you start cultivating the high vibrations, it purges out of your system.
I love that. I love that, because then you're talking about the frequency of the frequency, right? It's just doing
right.
that type of frequency at a higher frequency.
Right.
I know,
And so a
that
lot of
wasn't
these,
even trying to be funny with that. But.
right, exactly. So a lot of times, a lot of these techniques are about how to connect to nature.
Mm-hmm.
How do you connect with the fire element within us? How do we connect with the air element? Because if you take a look at it, the air is really out of balance for a lot of people. They stop breathing.
Right.
They stop drinking water.
Right.
People
Yes.
people get dehydrated, and the water becomes stagnant. If the negative vibrations are stuck in your water element, then it's very difficult to get out of it. And then, it's that whole cycle. Then a lot of times, the earth element is unstable. And then when we have an unstable, ungrounded individual, what happens is that every little wind or every little circumstance just makes people very nervous, and having unstable thoughts and emotions and anxiety. So you have to see that all these mantras are designed to bring harmony, to bring balance within our inner system. And then once the impurities are released and the blockages have been let go of, then life becomes more enjoyable. True nature or happiness starts coming out. So the question is, how do people receive this?
Mm-hmm.
I do also healings with people that don't want to do mantras. So, okay, there's that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I can do distance healings, or I can do in-person healings. That's one way. The other way is to do a daily practice where you get in touch with the elements. How many people are outside and walking in nature,
Mm-hmm.
allowing the sun element to hit your face.
Right.
How many people go out on hikes where they can experience a lot of oxygen and air,
Mm-hmm.
or go camping, or go to the beach, walk on the beach, or go to a lake.
Right.
Things like that. And so these are the techniques that is part of the consulting aspect of it, with one-on-one with people, so that we can begin to identify, okay, where are the areas that you need change, that are easy opportunities for people to change habits, right?
Yes.
So, and then there's the more advanced stuff. We're using mantras,
Mm-hmm.
simple mantras, vibrational frequencies. So it's a different array of services that I offer that allow people to experience relief from the suffering, from the mental agitation, from the lack of focus, and to begin to see step by step that it's possible. I mean, I've been doing this 14 years in India and 13 years here back in Los Angeles. We have a healing center. We have a half an acre property where people can go sit and meditate. We have power objects here that allow people to go into meditation easier, because the vibrations allow you to turn within.
That's
And then
beautiful.
yeah.
That is beautiful. You know what? I'm going to ask one more, probably ABC question, if I can, because you've mentioned the elements, the 5 elements, a number of times, and I know that you're, and forgive me if I mispronounce it. Is it Vastu?
Yes.
So I know you're a Vastu practitioner, which really talks about the science of how the 5 elements work, right? Or work together in how they interact with physical spaces. So I think when I looked it up, it said not a crude comparison, but a similar thing, but different, is feng shui. But this is different. This is older, right?
5,000 years old.
Yeah, that's to me is just something. Wondering if, well, first of all, if maybe you could just give us a 30-second version of what it is, and then why something is, inane as dirty dishes in your sink might be, impacting your financial life.
Right, right. So I think the question is, the 30-second version of it is that in your living space, it has certain quadrants or certain, if you have a square and you divide it up into fours, each quadrant has its certain vibrational frequency associated with the cardinal directions. So,
That's the
for
northeast, southeast, and
right,
center, and
southwest and northwest.
okay.
So based on that, uh, the question arises is in that space, what elements do you have associated with that? For example, where's your kitchen? Kitchen is the fire element, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the natural place where the fire is harmonious with your living environment, it makes it a perfect support. Similarly, where you're sleeping, are
Mm-hmm.
you sleeping in the southwest? Southwest represents the earth element, okay, because it's where the weight of the earth element gives you the deepest, most healing sleep in your environment. The other aspect is the water element, which is the northeast. The
Okay.
northeast is considered in your home or office, wherever you spend the most time in, where the divine energies arise. So given that, what are you putting in your northeast? Where are your entrances in your house? How are those entrances and configurations of your house affecting you in a positive way or a
Mm-hmm.
negative way? So I'll give you an example, two very interesting examples. If if you have your kitchen in the northeast quadrant of your house, what the symptoms are of that is that you have the fire element where the water element should be. So what happens is that it's where your prosperity is generated. And a lot of people have
Mm.
issues with prosperity. What it means is that if you have your kitchen in the northeast, it means that you'll make money, but it will get burnt up very quickly.
Okay.
Second issue or problem is if you have entrances in the wrong places, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have an entrance to your property or even your house from, let's say, the southwest, which is supposed to be your stable mind and grounded energy, what you're doing is you're opening up your house to a lot of negative energies.
Mm.
So,
Okay.
so what I noticed with clients that have come to me, if they have a chronic depression, suicidal tendencies, negative habits like addiction,
Mm-hmm.
things like that nature, what happens is that the entrances to the south or the west perpetuate or accentuate those negative tendencies. I'll give you a third example. If there is an entrance to a north side of the northwest quadrant, what happens is that you have a lot of friction, you have a lot of legal issues, you have a lot of defamation, you have a lot of turbulence and fighting happening in your life. I'll give you an example.
The Northwest, you said?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, right. So based on the configuration that you have of your apartment or your house, it will influence your life in a positive or a negative way. So if Jim comes to me and said, I'm having really difficulties in my life, I said, okay, Jim, send me your floor plan. Let me take a look at it and I'll tell you what's happening in your life. Don't tell me anything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've done it. Listen,
Yeah.
I've done hundreds, if not thousands, of Vastu consultations for people where they've come to me and they've shown me their their floor plan, and I look at their location relative to topography, and then I tell them, I said, this is happening, this is happening. I had one client come to me, and clearly they had a northwest entrance into their property, into their house. I said to him, I said, well, according to this Vastu, you've been there, what, 5 years? Yeah, 5 years. I says, you must be having legal problems and conflict and friction with people in your life. He says, no. I said, it's impossible. I said, is there anything happening right now in your life that is an issue for you or you're having conflict? He says, no. I says, what about your finances? He paused for a second. He says, well, my company's being audited right now by the IRS.
Okay, so you just hit all of those things. No. Well, my company.
Yeah, come to think of it, it was like that. I said, okay, great. And then, of course, what happens after that is they said, okay, Paul, what can I do to fix this?
Of course, right? Well, you know what? I do the exact same thing. Okay, now what? We
Right,
got that
exactly,
established. Now what?
exactly. So what's important with the work that I do is to identify some of the issues that people are having, but at the same time pointing out changes that need to happen in their lives, and then giving them practical solutions. I'm not going to give somebody a mantra that will take them 5 hours in order to complete, a 41-day process. But I can give them certain solutions that will mitigate some of the influences in their lives. So, and that's, I've been doing this for more than 13 years now and with measurable results. And those measurable results are being happier. Uh,
Who doesn't want that, right?
Well, you know what? Jim, it's so underestimated, but you have to understand where happiness comes from. Happiness comes from within.
Right.
It doesn't come from the temporary high of getting a new car, or getting it into a relationship that's really great in the beginning, and then all of a sudden, uh, confrontations happen or just challenges, which is natural. When you're happy, when you really have a peaceful mind and you have more clarity in your thoughts, where you don't entertain negative thoughts as often as you did, or if you do, you know how to recognize it. Most people just don't understand that they're entertaining the negative thoughts that go on in their mind, and they're having a wrestling match with their thoughts.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
100% understand exactly what you're saying. Because I think we, as well, the brain looks for familiar patterns, right? And if that's a familiar pattern, you're going to seek it out. That miserable or the misery or the distrust or whatever it is, what is it? Where your thoughts go, your energy flows.
Right, exactly. And Jim, that's an important point, because what I try to show to people, they'll give me an example. Oh, I had this conflict with this person in my work environment, and I just, 15 minutes later, I just couldn't convince them or get it. I said, first of all, are you recognizing how much energy is spewing out of your bank account? And that you're just focusing and your energy goes that way. And most people would look at it and go, I didn't really know that before. It's like, wow, that's pretty amazing. I said, so when people get up in the morning, most of the time refreshed, and they would go about our day. By the end of the day, we're exhausted. We're depleted.
Right.
We're drained. So the question is, what are you doing to rejuvenate that reservoir within it? What are you feeding your soul vibrationally that uplifts you, that nurtures you, that nourishes your being, so that you have more capacity to share love with your loved ones and your spouse, so that there's more abundance and inspiration in your life.
Right.
So that's what I try to really convey in people, but it takes time. There is no magic bullet on the spiritual path, Jim.
Yeah.
There is no magic bullet. And if you want a magic bullet, like, Ozempic or
Right.
or
Yes.
antidepressants, it may numb.
Yeah, masks.
It may mask.
Yeah, it doesn't heal or fix or whatever you want to say.
And I'm not against any of that.
Sure, they all have their place, right?
They all have their place in the system of wellness, and you may
Mm-hmm.
do things that are necessary for a period of time. I've dealt with people that are taking antidepressants, and over time, what happens is that they work with their therapist, and they realize that, hey, I can be off this now.
Right. Yes.
And the therapist says, well, okay, let's try it for a month or two like that. And lo and behold, over time, if you follow the protocols and you follow the discipline, you learn how to rejuvenate yourself. You find within yourself that which makes you happier and that fulfills your life, that there's more love. Imagine a life that has more love in it, Jim. The world would be a better place.
Yes, that's the old John Lennon song. Speaking of songs, we're about ready to go into our musical questions. Great segue. Way to go. You just served that one up nicely. I appreciate that, Paul. So this is the part of our show where I have the opportunity to ask our guest some musical questions. So if you're ready, we can jump right on in. You ready to go?
Right.
Okay. So what was the first song you fell in love with from the radio?
Fell in love, like romantic love, or just gave me inspiration?
No, just that you say, I can't wait to hear that song again. That was a great song. I can't wait to hear it again.
Doobie Brothers, Listen to the Music.
All right. That's a good one.
And
no doobies
because it inspired me, and the melody and the vibrations and the words in it were really positive,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was the time too. In
Yeah.
the 70s. Did your family have a song that everyone would belt out if you were going on road trips or vacations? And if not, maybe in school, because I know you went to UCLA. Maybe you went on a spring break trip somewhere and you and your friends were blasting some music.
That's a good question. I remember going on ski trips and Flock of Seagulls.
Oh.
That or Journey.
Oh yeah.
Journey was like one of my favorites because it was just the vocals on it were great.
Perry,
the lyrics on it were great. And the inspiration of the melody was wonderful. Phil Collins also. I liked Phil Collins. I wasn't into disco, sorry.
Yeah, hey, no need to be sorry here.
You know what? Earth, Wind, and Fire. Oh my
Earth,
God.
Wind, and Fire. I love those guys. I've been fortunate enough to see them. Actually, I saw them with Chicago too. I saw them by the
Chicago. I forgot about Chicago. Yeah.
Those guys. I mean, so you're like those groups are big bands too, with brass, with the horn sections and everything, and the percussion. It's your frequency and rhythm, and it's just an amazing thing. It's just an amazing thing.
I mean, just the lyrics. Chicago was by far one of the most orchestral bands, which I was amazed how they coordinated everything together. And all of these bands right now, it's like Earth, Wind, and Fire. It's all over on Gen Z, and all these music videos and all these remixes and everything like that. So I still listen to it today. In fact, I was watching a music video, watching a 19-year-old do a dance routine to Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, it was just amazing what they've done. They've recognized the rhythm and the positive impact onto dance and expression.
Absolutely. It's so a little side note here, and I won't drag it out, but some of the band members of Chicago were alumnus from DePaul University, where I went to school.
Right.
And they were in one of my favorite professors' classes, and I got a chance to meet them when they came in to say hello to him. to Dr. Brown's office. So it was
Right.
cool. So let me ask you, do you have a song that gets the positive juices flowing?
I have a number of songs that that I really enjoy. Like I said, Chicago's one of them. Earth, Wind and Fire is another one. Um, I also really like some of the songs from the Doobie Brothers. Um, Elton John.
Oh, yeah.
Believe it or not,
Sir Elton.
what was the other one that I really enjoyed? Um, Carly Simon.
Okay. Yeah.
And, those are really, I love her voice. I love how she
Yeah.
sings. Uh, yeah,
Storyteller.
right,
For sure.
exactly. And Crosby, Stills, Nash.
And Young.
Yeah, and Young.
Yeah.
And their songs are so iconic, and they speak
Mm-hmm.
to a time of adventure, exploration.
Yeah.
Joni Mitchell still to
Oh
this
my gosh.
day.
Yeah.
Joni Mitchell, she is just so iconic and so,
Bucking the
uh,
system type
but
of.
yeah, exactly. Linda Ronstadt. I mean,
Yeah.
Linda Ronstadt, her voice
Beautiful voice.
is a beautiful voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I look to it for inspiration every once in a while, and I just love it because it's authentic. It
Agreed.
has meaning to it. The beat and the rhythm is heart opening with a lot of these.
Especially with her very melodic in nature. She's just got a wonderful tone to her, for sure.
Right.
So I'm going to ask you my favorite question, and then we'll wrap everything up. This one is, sometimes there are songs that you hear that ring so true that they stop you in your tracks. And the song's lyrics sound like they were either written specifically for you or by you. What's that song?
I think recently Michael Bublé.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's one of the more iconic singers in today's day and age.
What song
Michael,
is it? Do you think?
it's Feel Good, and I'm feeling good.
Okay. I don't
He's
know that. I don't know that one. And I will say that I'm blessed that I love and remember a lot of different singer-songwriters, bands, genres, pieces, things like that. It's just such a part of who I am. But I don't know all of them. But I'll tell you what, I do get excited though when people talk about different artists and things that I haven't heard, like this one from Michael Bublé. I'm going to tell you right now, as soon as we're done, I start to put together your soundtrack, and I'll find it and I'll listen to it a few
Oh
times.
man, he's from Canada,
Yes.
and it's like one of those. I first heard this at a wedding.
Mm.
And it was so inspirational, and it's about a new beginning.
Oh,
It's
okay.
it's like you have to bring it up onto the screen if you're able to do that. And he is inspirational because it's like, and I'm feeling good. It's about
Mm.
his journey of his experience of life, and that you can also have that inspiration for life, and that you have this love of life.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to be up on the times. There's so many artists that have inspiration and heart opening.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that, for all of your answers, your experiences, your knowledge. I really do appreciate that. So this is where we're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap it up. Well, it's just about time to cue the music for today's episode, but don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Drop the Needle podcast to stay up to date on our latest episodes. I'd also like to take a moment to thank everyone again for tuning in today, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. And I'd also like to thank Paul again for being on, Paul Aryeh, again for being on the show today. Paul, can you do me a favor and tell everyone how they can get in touch with you and talk about your offerings and how they can get in touch for those purposes.
Right. Just go to my website, paularyeh.com. That's spelled Paul, P-A-U-L, Aryeh, A-R-Y-E-H.com. And everything's there. You can email me. You can subscribe to the newsletter. You can check out the offering for one-on-one, retreats, webinars, free webinars, so on and so forth.
I love that. I love the fact that you make it accessible to people. So thank you for doing that. Well, I invite you all to head on over to the show notes where you're going to find a link to today's playlist, as well as how to get in touch with Paul. All right, my Drop the Needle posse, like Billy Joel says, from the highs to the lows to the end of the show, this is the end of our show. Until next time, this is Jim Alstott wishing you infinite health, happiness, and the perfect playlist for your life. Thank you again for being the best part of us. Catch you next time.